Hey Holger, really excited to have you on the podcast. Read and learned and used Blinkist quite a lot, really familiar with the business. So it'd be great if you could just, I know you've probably done this many times on multiple podcasts, but just give us an overview of yourself, Blinkist, and go on.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for having me, Alex. I'm Holger. I started a company called Blinkist in 2012. Basically, what we do is we help you to fit more learning into your busy lifestyles. We bring the key insights from nonfiction books, from podcasts, from YouTube videos, from a lot of great learning content that is out there and that we all have too little time to consume. We condense it and we bring the key insights into a format that you can read or listen to on the go in 15 minutes. Yeah, as I said, started that in 2012 after some years figuring out how to run a business. We hit product market fit and scaled it quite nicely since there. So still in business in 2025 after 13 years and growing faster than ever.
How difficult was it finding product market fit?
Oh, if you, I mean, in hindsight, it sounds easy, but when it took us 2 years, and we were first-time founders, so we needed to learn everything from how to build a product, how to market a product, how to build a company, how to hire good people, how to fire people that were not so good. So it was not just finding product market fit; it also was finding everything around how to run a company, and that was a challenge. It was always a good challenge. Like it was always fun, and we learned a lot, but it also felt intense. And but yeah, so after 2 years, eventually we found it. The key recipes for us back then was to go for a subscription model, to focus on annual subscriptions because they would help us to return the money faster so we can reinvest in marketing. It was important for us to launch in English. We had initially only launched in German, and then adding English made our market much bigger. And we learned how to market the product. So I think what I share with other founders now when they ask for advice is don't fall in love with your product too much because we focused way for too long on product and wanted to really get it absolutely right and didn't focus enough on marketing. And I think, yeah, I mean, you need a good product, but once a product is good enough, your attention should shift to marketing or sales, distribution, basically, because there's a lot of beautiful, great products out there that just don't get marketed well. And then there's no business in the end. There's no product market fit without figuring out the market, without figuring out how to bring a product to market in a way that it's scalable and sustainable.
Yeah, that's interesting you touch on the distribution because that's something I've seen and found is you can have great products, but without distribution, they're nothing. And in the age of content creators, we're seeing people who will start creating content first and then build a business on top of that, which speaks for how important distribution is. So I'd really be interested. How did you find getting marketing, doing the distribution, and how did it take off in the early days?
Yeah. So I mean, that was 2013, 2014. That's when we had a product on market and tried to find customers for it. There was also the early days of Facebook marketing. So we were ultimately benefiting from a big bonanza when it comes to mobile advertising via Facebook. So, we tried in the beginning, we tried PR, tried to land a lot on a lot of articles, go to a lot of events, but soon figured out that this creates nice peaks but doesn't really scale. We also tried to work hard on Apple and Google to get us featured. There was also now and then when when it worked now and then, but it wasn't really scalable. And then eventually we turned our eyes to performance marketing, to paying a platform, to showing our ads. And there we, in hindsight, luckily focused on Facebook first because Facebook back then already allowed to target users really, really well. It was really easy to set up, only one banner format. It didn't have to, upload 10 different formats. And after a couple of weeks leaning into it, integrating it with it, so we could send conversion events back to Facebook. We could tag our traffic in a way that we knew, okay, this sign up came from Facebook. And then when someone purchased, we could see whether that someone came from a paid marketing campaign or not. Yeah, so we had to figure out the tracking setup. We had to figure out the right taglines, the right visuals that worked on Facebook. And yeah, I think it took us not a couple of weeks, that's underestimating, took us maybe a quarter or two to really, go from zero with baby steps to something that is scalable. And It was a fun time back then. I did it myself together with a colleague. So we designed, I'm not a designer, but I designed the first banners myself on Facebook. I was a pain in the ass to my CTO to set up a proper tracking system so we could learn where the leads came from. And all of that eventually came together. And we realized, well, if we do this banner with this targeting, then we actually make money because we earn more revenue than we pay in Facebook advertising fees. And figuring that out end of 2014 was a really, really cool moment because then it's really like, wow, we have a mechanism to print money here. And then that's when we started to scale.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of founders from multiple industries discuss about finding Facebook ads in the early days when it was really good value. So I'm interested. So it's say 2013, 14, you've just started advertising on Facebook, you've found the sort of winning ad, so to speak. From there, did you go all in on Facebook for a certain amount of time, or?
Yeah. Facebook was the first platform that really helped us to scale. So we cracked it towards end of 2014. And then in 2015, 2016, it was the platform, basically the one and only marketing platform that helped us scale. The second platform we started to set up in 2016, but it took quite a while. So we probably had it up and running towards end of 2016 was paid content, Outbrain Taboola. So when we started to see the first ceiling on Facebook, then Outbrain Taboola took over to become the biggest new platform. And then, year after year, we added additional platforms to the mix to help us grow faster. And then, obviously, we hadn't reached the ceiling with Facebook in 2016. I spent more money on Facebook now than we ever have. But it looked back then, and from where we've been back then, it looked like, okay, Facebook is getting harder. So we started a new platform, then eventually also learned how to crack through the roof on Facebook again and unlock additional growth there.
And I see a lot of founders do really well with Facebook, but in essence, it only takes them to a certain point, i.e. they can't just put more ads into Facebook and constantly scale. Obviously, you've launched different marketing channels. How did you go from being really successful on Facebook, say doing X amount of million, to get into the next stage?
Yeah, so I mean, it was hard work. I still remember cracking Outbrain and Taboola, so the paid content native ad universe, took us 9 months. So we decided back then strategically, okay, what's our next platform beyond Facebook? We, a company from Berlin that was also in the EdTech space where was really successful on paid content. So we had some experts we could ask how it's done. But I also always thought our target audience is readers, people who read something online. Outbrain Taboola, these are these little articles you see when you read on, I don't know, TechCrunch, CNN, whatever you read. So I thought this is a natural filter or natural targeting mechanism for us, because it's not like TV where that's where everyone watches TV, so you have no targeting, you have a really broad set of users seeing your ads. But with Outbrain Taboola, we already have a targeting that fits very well for us, not for other companies, but for us, as we are targeting digital readers. So I thought that there we have a natural advantage in this channel, and then decided basically this is the next channel we'll crack. And it took us very long. You need to develop the right website, the right blog interface. You need to develop the right conversion mechanisms. You need to think of the right articles, and basically the advertisement is not just a banner; it's a piece of content. So it has much more screws that you need to fine tune to make it work compared to Facebook, which was a simple banner targeting, and then it sends traffic to the App Store and people install your app. So that was challenging. It took a long time, but I thought if not we, can crack this channel because it fits so well to Blinkist. And yeah, then we did what it takes. I think other companies maybe think everything has to be as easy as Facebook. So they try, and if it doesn't work, they leave it again. But I believe really Facebook is the only channel that really works plug and play, or that really gives you early and quick successes. And then every other marketing channel, maybe Google sometimes. Google search is similar, easy. Like when you have your right keyword and your right funnel, and it may work really fast. But everything else requires work and some stamina, also some money, some testing budget to really work through and optimize the funnel until you're there.
And how did you go about measuring, for instance, you've got a new channel of marketing, how did you know when to kill it or continue?
Yeah. Back then, we were still, it was pre all the privacy things. Now with app tracking, privacy, etc., you can see much less. But back then, there was no cookie consent, there was no Apple privacy policy, so we could really track on a user level basis. So every ad had a unique link. So we knew for every user who would visit our website and then who would sign up, or every user who came through the App Store, install the app, and sign up, we would know where they came from, and not just which platform or channel they came from, but which ad. So we always had specific on a user level. We knew the ads that drove the user. So that was basically the starting point, like a really proper tracking that is reliable, tracking that is somehow with the right, how do you say, link structure, so you can make sense of it and it's not too chaotic. And then we really, we started to just build, measure, learn. We started to launch an ad and then see, okay, we spent 100 euros here. How many signups do we, or how many clicks do we see? How many signups do we see? How many of those signups went on to become paying customers? And then pretty quickly you see different. You see this one ad or this one targeting works really well, and this other doesn't work really well, and then you kill the losers and promote the winners and zoom in or narrow in on what's working. If you see a certain concept is working, so then you do more of that ad concept. If you see certain targeting is working, you do more in that segment, in that niche. And yeah, I think visibility and a good tracking is key. And then you just need a really structured methodological approach to improve things, and you need, as I said, some stamina. If you think that you have to do it once and then it either works or it doesn't, and if it doesn't work then you leave it, then it doesn't work like that. You really need to optimize throughout the funnel. You need to get click rate up, then you need to get sign up rate up, then you need to get a conversion rate from sign up to subscription up, and you need to really optimize the funnel on all its steps until you're eventually there and have a funnel that works.
And obviously, Blinkist grew into a massive business. Did you always envisage this? Did you build to exit, or did it just get bigger and bigger and you realize what was possible?
We were really ambitious when we started. So we really believed, otherwise we wouldn't have done it. We believe this can become a big business. This can become a big product that a lot of users want to use. And that's also, we started to get funding early on. So we got angels and venture capital funds into the business early on. And I think once you say yes to venture capital, you have to say yes to scale. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So yeah, we had this ambition and this belief early on, and always went all in. It was never meant to be a small lifestyle business, but a big business.
Would you to have that belief being a first-time founder?
It was probably a good mix of confidence and naivety. Or how do you say that in English? Being naive. And we always wanted to start our own company. We did a lot of brainstormed a lot about what products or what problems are worth solving, what products could make sense, and then we had a product that we believed in, that we found could provide value to customers, and we got good feedback, both from customers who liked it, also from VCs who said this makes sense, and VCs investing in us also gave us the confidence, and it was and we just went with the flow.
And you've said that you don't want Blinkist to be a replacement for books. It's there to be accompanied with books.
Mm-hmm.
But when I see some micro-learning apps, the way I see them marketed is that like you can become smarter by just doing the 15 minutes. Like, how did you keep that message of being a tool to accompany the books and not replace it, whilst having optimal marketing and getting consumers in?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think you have to really distinguish between how the product is used and what the intent is and how it's marketed on. Especially in today's world on social media, you have to be really edgy. You have to be really provoking. And it needs to be a thing that you can, like a 10-second headline. It can't be can't explain, here's a product that you can use to discover books, also recap books, etc. All this, like, you need to be catchy and you need to be provoking. And then sometimes if you promise people you can be smarter in 15 minutes a day, this is just much more catchy. And people think, oh, I want to be smarter in 15 minutes a day. That sounds good. I want to check it out. We're a little more provocative or edgy in the headlines we use on social media, because that's how you get people to click. But then the way people use the product is really complementary. So we have only very few users who said who have been avid readers and replaced book reading with Blinkist. We see most people use us as a discovery tool, as a tool to recap books, or we also have a big audience who has never read books, will never read books, who is more like they watch YouTube videos, they listen to podcasts, and they also use Blinkist. So they use digital only, shorter form tools to learn, to educate themselves. And we don't bring them back to books, but we also don't take them away from books. We just offer them one of many ways to educate themselves.
And I've seen a quote before that goes something along the lines of, I fear not the man who's read 1,000 books once, but one book 1,000 times. And it makes me think of the issue is sometimes not with people reading, but how much they retain. I'd just be curious, what do you think on this?
It makes ultimately to truly learn, to learn deeply, and you have to go deep into a topic, whether that's reading a book 10,000 times or even just once, but very thoroughly, whether that's really engaging in a topic with, listening to 10 different podcasts on a topic, watching 5 YouTube videos, or going really deep, or at work, learning by doing. Doesn't matter, the format doesn't matter, but if you want to achieve mastery, you have to put in the hours. So I really believe in that. I think that's what the quote ultimately says that you just mentioned. And Blinkist is not a tool to go deep. You can go deeper with Blinkist on a topic. If you can listen to 20 blinks of from leadership books to go a little deeper on leadership, and we'll help you to get different perspectives on leadership. And that already is a starting point of going deeper and drilling deeper into that topic of leadership in that example. But then Blinkist is a starting place, and then you can, we inspire, we give you a good overview, and then you go deeper. And that going deeper sometimes is a book, sometimes it's a very long podcast, sometimes it's a workshop. It can take so many shapes and forms. But a lot of us have the challenge to get started. We don't know where to get started, or we don't build a habit. And Blinkist helps you to build that habit and get started. And that's why that's why a lot of people use us, and we're still around after 13.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great way of, so you see a book and, I don't know, you could read a summary on Blinkist and that could prompt you to read the book and prompt a new found interest in a certain theme. So I think that's great. I'd be also curious, as your first time founder and you've gone on to achieve some amazing things, what were the biggest difficulties you had? Was there anything that really stood out, or anything you faced that you thought, wow, I wasn't expecting this?
There's probably nothing that I didn't expect. It was my first, I didn't have a lot of specific expectations. I think everything was fun and challenging. There's, in these 12 years of running Blinkist, there were a lot of things that I discovered first time. How to, the way I needed to lead the company really changed from when we've been 10 people to when we've been 160 people. So my role as a leader, leading leaders of leaders, or just a small team, changed. Really holding people to account and doing performance management, also letting people go who are liked but who weren't up for the role. That was very tough. I tend to be a nice guy, and then being the not so nice guy was really required a lot of personal growth for me and stepping out of my comfort zone. So nothing unexpected, but lots of challenges, but I think nothing unusual. As you grow in your career, all of us face these challenges as we go from contributor to manager to leader. I think in hindsight, I would have never thought that it's so tough. Also, this, we've been through up and downs with Blinkist. I started a family during the time, I have 2 kids now, and managing both, leading the business, also spending enough time with the kids, supporting my wife, all that, being a co-parent and not just a guy who shows up every now and then for dinner. That all is challenging. And I think the NVIDIA founder said once that he wouldn't recommend anyone to become an entrepreneur, that it's tough. I mean, his life is much tougher than mine. I don't want to compare it, but it's tough. You have to love it. You have to love what you do to hang in there.
And did you enjoy that, going from a creator, a founder, to being a CEO and leading over 160 people?
Yes and no. There have been low points where I said like, oh damn, I don't want this. Like, why can't it be easier? But overall, I enjoy it. I love to develop myself. I love to be challenged and grow. So I have to also accept the harder times, the tough times, because you don't learn anything when you're in your comfort zone. So overall, I enjoyed it because I saw how much I learned from it and how much I developed through it.
You decided to stay on at Go On after the acquisition. Could you tell me a little bit more about that and your time at Go On now?
Yeah. I mean, Go On and Blinkist basically followed pre-acquisition. We followed similar missions. We all wanted to make lifelong learning easier. There's still a big pain point around lifelong learning. Everyone knows we need to constantly learn new stuff now more than ever before. But learning is broken. It's like it's not fun. It's not engaging. We don't know where to start. So this finding the right content and then bring up the willpower to build a habit and do it. It's challenging. So it's a huge need that no one has really solved perfectly yet. And Blinkist was approaching it from the consumer side. Go One was approaching it from the business side. So I'm trying to help companies to help their employees to grow. So yeah, we wanted to solve the same problem with different approaches. So it was a natural fit that we bring our strength together and try to solve that problem with combined strength. So that's why it was an easy decision for me to stay. I felt like I right now feel like a co-founder of that bigger company. Go One is still founder-led, Blinkist is still founder-led, and we now, with combined forces, try to solve that problem and build a really big business that is global, and that's still fun. And as long as work is fun and I get to learn something new every week through the challenges that the job throws at me, I'm happy.
So it's always really interesting to see people like yourselves who've achieved so much and obviously still learning. Do you have any examples of anything you've learned recently?
I mean, through the acquisition from Go One, like I learned a lot how culture works. Like Go One is a company, headquartered in Australia, but also has lots of employees in the US. Blinkist was predominantly Europe. So there's big cultural differences between the different regions, also between the two companies, and then bringing that together and really making all people row in the same direction was challenging. So there was a saying that we heard before the acquisition that most of acquisitions, they actually destroy value rather than build value. So now I understand that. I mean, we didn't destroy value, luckily, but it was challenging at times. It was not as easy as we thought it would be. So we really needed to lean in. And I think we all, both from the Go One side and the Blinkist side, are much smarter now and learned a lot about how to bring cultures together, what mistakes to avoid, and so that was something I learned. I learned much more about to be. I've been, Blinkist has been predominantly a business focused on consumers, and Go One is a business that focuses on companies. And as Go One's chief product officer now, I have to build a product that works for both consumers and companies. So I learned a lot about how our corporate customers take or what they want to see, how sometimes more complex that world is compared to the consumer world. Still learning to become a better leader every day. As I said, that being a nice guy, that's something that I have to overcome again and again to hold people accountable, to also be the not so nice guy when it needs to be. So that is something that is a never-ending learning journey for me.
Yeah, and I guess that being a not so nice guy and holding people accountable, I bet that's also good to take into parenthood and other things.
Absolutely.
And you touched on culture. How important was location for building a business, do you think?
For us, it was really important. Our culture was shaped a lot through people being in the office together. There was a lot of rituals and routines we had in the office. Having lunch, we have a cantina here now, having lunch together every day. Or before we had a cantina, we would prepare lunch together frequently. We had nice events in the evening, spontaneous. We had a foosball table here. We brought people together, really. It felt like, and that's not always good, it felt like a family. And I know now that also it should feel more like a team than a family. So sometimes we also oversteered in that regard. But lots of the Blinkist culture was, if you asked everyone who's working here or all the Blinkist alumni, they will say, look, the times when we got together and how we got together, this is what made Blinkist special and what makes it special. So for us, it played an important role. And I think I have not figured out how to recreate that in a remote world. So I know there are companies, there are good remote companies out there that have a strong culture, but I still believe you need to bring people together in person frequently enough to create that sense of belonging, to create that glue and that magic. Yeah, for me, it's very important.
And you said there's also some drawbacks to creating a family as opposed to a team. Could you tell me some more about the drawbacks and the
Yeah, I
negatives?
mean, the more you like people, the harder it is to let them go if they're no longer the right fit for the company. And it's normal, like as you grow, as the company grows, roles grow, and sometimes roles outgrow people. Some people can keep up with the growth, or then do a sidestep to another role, but others can't. And then I think in the early years, we held on way too long. We held on to people that were no longer the right people for the roles, but they were, since they've always done this, they've been with us from the start. There was a sense of loyalty and a sense of personal connection and affection. They've made it hard to do the things that are right for the business, but sometimes not right for the personal relationship.
And people who have grown into roles successfully and people who haven't, like, is there any indicators of that? How do you see all that working?
I don't think. I mean, I think curiosity and is one trait that is very important. If you're a very curious person with a growth mindset and you have like high level of resilience, then you are more likely to do what it takes. Maybe curiosity and also a good portion of self-reflection and humbleness. Like if you're humble and self-reflected and you don't have it yet, but you have the curiosity to really dig in and do the work that's required to fill that new role, then these are kind of attributes or skills that allow people to step up and to really grow alongside the organization. And then others, there are people that maybe less curious or less self-reflected to know that they have to work harder and then they don't catch up as fast. And some of us just need more time, and some of us are sharper and faster. It's not so easy to say here are the one or two things that you can spot early on. If I could, then it would be nice, but I think there's no, lots of people have surprised me. I thought sometimes people, well, that's probably the end of the rope for them, and then they leaned in and they made it work. And others who I thought they are smart, they could do it, they didn't, because they may have been too arrogant or too not self-reflected enough. So it's really hard to tell.
So I'm right. Would I be right in thinking that it's not absolutely, but heavily down to things like curiosity, determination, resilience, self-reflection, rather than natural ability and experience?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I also one of my biggest learnings at Blinkist is to no longer hire for experience, but rather for mindset. I'd rather have a younger person who hasn't done it before, but who's hungry and has shown that they're eager to learn and that are flexible and resilient, than a person who's seen it all, done it all, and that is just not hungry anymore. And then has their playbook, but that playbook may not be right for what we need. But then those people are too stuck in their playbook to really change and rise to the challenge.
And going on to entrepreneurship more generally, you said your first business, I believe you was a consultancy when you were a student, so you would have been in your teens, early 20s, I imagine. Did you always know, one day I'm going to start a business, or did it just happen?
It was always a dream of mine. Not always, but I started in the last years of school, where a teacher of mine brought a business school competition to our school. So I participated in a business school competition, and that's when I realized, wow, this is in a business, how do you say, in a business plan competition. That's a term where you have to come up with an idea and then pitch a business plan, basically. And that's where really when I started to understand this is what I'm good at, this is what I like, this gets makes me smile. So since then, I kind of had the dream to start a company. But I grew up in a small village, didn't have any role models who had started a company. So I was too humble to say, well, I definitely will do this. But it was a dream of mine. And then in university, I found like-minded people. We started that student consultancy because we had that hunger, that ambition to start something. We wanted to just do stuff. Yeah, and that experience in university, starting that consultancy that worked really well, that still exists today, that gave me and us as a team the confidence. It's actually like, it doesn't have to be just a dream. It's not that hard to do it. We just do it, and then people join, and then it works out. So that gave us more confidence, and then ultimately led to Blinkist, because we, from that experience onwards, we would brainstorm ideas to start a real business after university, and eventually landed on Blinkist as an idea, and then quit our jobs and did it.
And I find it interesting you said you were raised in a small village with no like business entrepreneur role models, because I can really relate to that. Like I had none either, and I think moving to London made me realize what's possible when you see people doing it, like, and then you've had that at university. And I think that's like a massive problem for society, is not having that representation or knowing what's possible. If you were to think on this, and like, how do you see this problem being solved, or a route to solving this?
I mean, now we're on the. I think it's easier and easier these days. There's, if I compare when I was younger, 2004. This is when I finished school. There wasn't such a thing as podcasts or YouTube. There weren't digital channels where I could, inform myself about this. So I was really stuck to, books and school, basically. But now people from all over the world, wherever they grow up, if they have an internet connection, they can plug into podcasts, YouTubes, and they have role models. And they have people like, no one will discover me probably, but there's people with bigger names than me who have similar stories and who set a good example for people that they can make it from everywhere. I think it's easier than ever there to launch your website, launch your app with AI tools now. So you don't need to have money anymore, or not a lot of money. You can just start hacking on your own and get something out there. So I think the barriers of getting started have been lowered massively. There's still a lot of advantages that you and I have, because we're a white man in a Western culture. I will not deny that, but still, compared to 20 years ago, it has become easier, and then people have more, or have the ability to tap into role models regardless where they are.
And you touched on AI and how easy it is now, and totally agree. Like now, everything is definitely easier than ever. With things like AI and other relevant trends, like I'm curious to know what thing right now excites you the most, or what thing right now are you most fearful of?
I mean, the answer to both is AI. It's such a shift. It will change everything, and it can change everything to the better. It can change everything to the worse, and the future will tell. So in terms of Blinkist, I think it's a massive chance for us to, also for the whole education sector. Like, we can finally personalize education and really customize it to the person, make discovery easier, make the actual delivery of content better and more personalized. So the challenge that I described early on, we need to learn constantly, but it's, for a lot of us, it's too boring, or we can't have the willpower. AI makes it easier to solve this problem. So that's really excited about that. I mean, as a business, it also puts a challenge on us. We need to be fast, and we need to be one of the businesses who find the right answers with AI faster than others. So it's a new level. Basically, the playing field is even, and we need to be fast. And new people who enter the market, when they're fast, they can catch up with us really quickly. But equally, we can catch up with much faster, with much bigger businesses, also really easily. So AI kind of levels the competition, the playing field, which is both exciting and also sometimes intimidating. There's no time to rest. And if I zoom out on the more global society, it can work in both ways. Depends on what the big governments will ultimately decide with regard to regulation, etc. And right now, it seems to be more like everything, that there's no regulation and just a race to the bottom between the big powers of the world. But that may change eventually. So we will see.
And I always see people discussing the generalist v specialist debate, and I think AI is going to really create a requirement for people to be generalists rather than specialists. Do you see Do you see that being a big thing, a big trend?
I think it really depends on the role. There are roles where, I mean, I think in general, it will, like jobs that can be replaced by AI will become less, like if you're, I mean, if you're in a job, if you create content, if you're a lawyer, if you do stuff like that, I will just replace a lot of it. So you don't need to be neither a specialist nor a generalist anymore. There's simply less jobs in that field because I can do a lot of that. And then I agree with you. Random example, lawyer, like there, then you need to learn how to use AI, and that skill is probably a more generalist skill than a specialist skill because the AI can give you the very special answers, and you need to be the generalist, understanding how to prompt AI and how to verify it, basically. But in other roles, like if you're dealing with humans, then AI will not replace you in a long time. Like if you're a nurse in a hospital, then I think people still need other people to take care of them. There are also AI or robots eventually can help here and there, but there are certain roles where human connection matters. Human connection will matter, and I don't think that robots will replace that anytime soon. But yeah, so um, I don't know whether that statement is true in general, but for certain roles, of course.
And moving on to things outside of work, like how do you like to wind down or spend your time outside of working?
I love spending time with the family, the two boys. So that really helps me to disconnect. And it's fun to see them grow and play with them. I try to do sports. I do too little of it next to running the business and being there with the like spending time with the family. Would love to do more. I should do more to live a healthier life. But that's still something I need to live up to. Haven't figured it out. And then meeting friends, like really meeting people, this is what helps me. It helps me disconnect from work and really chill.
How do you manage to do things like that, disconnect, spend time with family, and be able to maintain, building a big business, now working in a big role, and do
Yeah,
the family and friend side of things?
there at times I don't. That's the honest answer. And when business is really busy, like when we have been in these negotiations with Go One to sell the business, it's been like lots of hours, and then sometimes it just needs to be done, and no one else. I mean, a lot of things I can delegate and the org can do, but then also some things I have to do as the founder and CEO of the business. So there are times when I just have to prioritize that, and then everything else comes second. And then there are times when it's easier, when everything is under control and everything is business as usual. And then I have a great org with great people that can do a lot of stuff, and then I can delegate and can also say, okay, this evening I'm out with my family or I'm out with friends. So on a normal week that is possible, and then it's really just about blocking it in the calendar. For me, it's all like if it's in the calendar, then it's blocked, then I will do it. And other weeks I'll have to cancel stuff because it's just, yeah, unforeseen stuff.
And reading and studying, I think for me, I remember reading a few years ago, reading the Almanac of Naval Ravikant, and I read it 3 or 4 times, and it was so, I think it really just communicated things so well to me and made me really understand entrepreneurship, business, how to think. I'm curious if you've had anything similar to that, like a movie you've watched, an advice you've been given, a book you've read that's really transformed the way you see things.
The different, like I really love Mindset from Carol Dweck. Learned a lot about myself from that book when I approach things with a fixed mindset, and then knowing that helped me to change it to a growth mindset. So that's a really book that has influenced me. I really love the both books from Ben Horowitz, The Hard Thing About Hard Things and What You Do Is Who You Are. Lots of really practical lessons for founders, especially What You Do Is Who You Are, one of the best books on building a company culture. So that has really helped me to understand how a company culture is built and gave me good ideas how to do that better. At Blinkist, five dysfunctions of a team from Patrick Lencioni taught me a lot about leading a team and what makes high performing teams versus dysfunctional teams. Yeah, these are books that come to mind.
If you were hypothetically thrown into a desert island or in the middle of the globe tomorrow, no resources, nothing, you haven't got your job now, and you needed to start a business, what do you think you would do?
Good question. Probably after running a digital business for so long, I would look at a much simpler, much more like not starting something new where I need to prove more product market fit, but something that just people need on a daily basis that already has so brick and mortar store, or anything that is more old school, analog versus digital.
Nice. Yeah, great choice. But Holger, that was amazing and some really insightful pieces of knowledge in there, and great to hear about your story again at Blinkist. So thank you ever so much for coming on the show, and it's amazing to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been great. Thanks, Alex.
Great. Thanks so much,